What is up, Ham Radio? Kilo Echo 8, Papa Zulu November, the Ham Radio Adventure Guy. Thanks for stopping by, your one stop for everything Adventure Radio. It is Hump Day. That means it's time for the Hump Day Happy Hour. We got a great stream scheduled tonight. We're going to be talking about portable power. But before we do that, we're going to do what we always do and thank the Patreons because they keep the power in the gas tank and the power in my belly by keeping me fed. Without these guys, I wouldn't be out there every day. Well, I would, but I sure would be a broke joke. And I'd be in the same park every day probably too. So I'd have like 4,000 activations in Chief Logan Park or something crazy like that. But anyway, I appreciate those guys. And also, I appreciate these guys. A lot of off-stream donating. Thank you very much to James Jenner and the Insane Clown Posse. I appreciate you guys very much, and I always appreciate Bruce when he comes singing to me in my pile-ups as well. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. And also, shout out to those guys in the chat with Green. That would be the YouTube channel members. If you don't know your YouTube channel members' benefits, feel free to message me because you do have more benefits than just being green. All right, so we're going to talk portable power. And I figured I'd bring a couple people on to do that tonight. So we're going to bring the guy with all the power and the guy that don't use any power. Let's bring him out, Hayden. All right.
Oh, that was good.
No power.
So we got Mr. QRO for sure. Did a 40. I did 40 meters today here in Florida, and it wasn't quite open here in Florida. And I caught, 20 or 30 maybe. But it was dead, and I called CQ way more than I ever want to. And at the end of it, because I didn't have good internet signal, I just went, Whiskey Delta 4 Delta Alpha. And he whispered back into the microphone, and he was 20 over whispering. So let me tell you, he was running a little bit of power, I think.
A little bit of kapow.
A little bit of kapow. But anyway, and then the other guy who got me on 40, a very, very far contact on 40 meters today for it not to be working. But he was really, really light. But that's because you were running what?
2 watts.
2
no,
watts.
3 on you. 3 on you. 3 on you.
3 watts. And how many miles do you think that is?
That's 1,400 miles.
1,400 miles.
Yeah.
On 3 whiskeys. So good stuff, good stuff. I see the chat filling up. What's up, Smoking Ape? What's up, Evan? What's up, Ed?
We're going to math on stream here. That's 466 miles per watt.
466 miles per watt. All right.
Still not the 1,000 miles that CW guys do.
Hey, I don't run QRP CW. Well, I mean, I guess I do when I do QRP activations. But typically when I run wattage on my regular rig on CW, I'm at about 33 watts. And I know I crushed Germany 5.9 plus the other day, and I was like, no, that's pretty sweet. CW gets out there, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely more efficient, that's for sure.
So we're gonna talk a little bit of power tonight. First off, let's see how everybody's doing. How you doing tonight, Dan?
Pretty good, man. Had a good day. A little bit of hunting, a little bit of working. Got you on 40 meters finally in Florida. You need to go there more often.
Well, the thing about 40 meters in Florida, it don't work during the mornings and the afternoons, and that's pretty much when I've been activating here. I'm normally here at my mom's by about 5:30, and that's when 40 meters is starting to heat up pretty good here.
Yeah, so, and you're kind of limited to north and south because there's nothing really east and west of you. So.
Right. So, I mean, that's kind of why that is, whereas in West Virginia, the time that I'm getting done here is normally the time that I'm starting there. So I'm all 40, 60, 80.
Yep.
That's why that's at. All right, PP man, how you been, buddy?
Oh, I'm great today. I'm riding a high because I messed up Dan's hair on 2 watts. Stepped right on top of his head. I don't think he felt me. It's my story, Dan. I'm telling it my way. Okay.
Go ahead.
We were chasing a guy in Oregon, and Dan and I came in at the very same time, and he picked me up. I don't care what Dan's story is, but my story is I went in first.
Okay. Well, first,
And I was 2 watts that time.
I got a question about your story.
God.
Where is Oregon?
Same place as Oregon is.
Okay. I was just sure.
Yeah, the people that live there actually pronounce it Oregon.
I was just curious if their if their aura was gone, or
their aura is gone. Trust me, those people over there, that's the Lost Coast.
Okay, cool stuff. Do they have a lot of ham radio operators in Oregon?
I think they do.
Well, they have at least one
more than North Dakota.
Okay. I was talking to a guy today, and it was actually pretty cool because I was doing an activation. It was a twofer, and it's the second park actually is the Van Fleet Bike Trail, and it was going right by me. I was under this little shelter, and this guy, as he's coming down through there, he's flying. He looks over at me, and he slows down. He goes on down through there, and I guess he was still listening from down through there, and he comes back, and I had a decent pile going. He just sat there and waited for me to get done with sideband right before I went to CW. And, I got done, and before I did CW, I was like, you got some questions? And he threw out his call sign, and he started talking to me and stuff. And he was actually from Kansas. He comes down here snowbirding for the winter, and he's talking about, he's like, yeah, there's a couple of atnos I've been wanting to go over into Wyoming and get. And I was like, there's probably a lot of atnos in Wyoming.
Least populated state in the union.
But it's pretty cool just to meet a ham radio guy just out there biking like that. That was pretty cool.
But was he in your log?
You know what? I told him I was going to check that, and while Hayden's telling us how he's been and everything, we're going to check it right now.
Oh, I've been good. It's hump day. Here we are again on the stream, and we're halfway to the weekend.
Halfway to the weekend. Yeah, that's always a plus.
And I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to do a Friday activation this weekend. Thanks for the idea, Dan. And spend a weekend in West Virginia doing some manual labor for a buddy of mine and hunting on the radio.
Well, I'm going to say that Friday would be better than your normal Sunday because the bands are going to be crowded this weekend.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the ARRLDX single sideband competition is this weekend.
Yeah, so.
Are they allowed on all bands?
No.
All the regular bands, not the work bands.
Okay.
Because it is a competition.
We still got that, but we all know what's going to happen when we go over there and activate. So.
You might not find room. That's what happened last sideband contest. I went over to try to find room on 17 meters, but 17 meters is so small anyway. It was packed with just other people. So
you got to use them 0.5 frequencies.
You still be right in the middle of somebody's 3KC.
Okay, he is in my log 3 times. That means he is legit. That's cool. That's awesome.
Oh, you did get somebody, James, their first hunter QSO today, I believe.
Well, actually, he emailed me. Not only was that his first ever POTA QSO, that was his first HF QSO.
Very nice.
He just got his general license, and I was his first contact on HF and POTA. So I done told him I would definitely be sending him a card as soon as I get back to West Virginia. I've got a list of a few that I've got to send cards to that I got to move in front of the list, the pile of list, because it's his first contact, so he gets moved up, and then I've got a little PP man. You're still away. You're down in the QRP vest.
That might even be worthy of a sticker.
And one that's definitely worthy of a sticker is the little 9-year-old that contacted me the other day. Her name was Ava, and she contacted me from her school radio club.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I told her, I was like, well, you tell your teacher to send me an email because I want to get you a card. And he emailed me and said she was so excited about talking to me, and it just made her day. So
That's so cool.
I've already got the school address for the club and stuff like that, and I'm going to send her a card. So that's going to be awesome. You know how I am with the kids.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about power, and
A little bit about power.
You see who's in the chat?
oh Lord,
Susie Lynn Curtis says hi.
oh Lord, Susie Lynn Curtis, the wild, crazy hitchhiker from Missouri. Was it Missouri or Mississippi?
No, it was Bammy.
Oh, Alabama. Okay,
Bammy.
somewhere over through there. Oh, Lord.
Missouri, Alabama.
It's close.
You know,
Just one side of the Meemaw man.
you know, if you get an Eagle Wonder, all 5'9" anyway, so it doesn't
That's
matter.
right.
Exactly.
So, anyway, Lord, Susie Lynn Curtis in the chat. I've done everything's gone to crap. Hey, Dan, you got a prop for me?
Yeah, hold on. There you go.
This Susie Lynn Curtis in the chat deserves a prop. Put a prop. Oh, there we go. Susie Lynn Curtis, that's for you.
My green screen's kind of messing with it, but we got it.
Yeah, but I can see it. I can see it. I can see the Peter Pan. You're good. That prop is for you, Susie Lynn Curtis.
Excellent.
Oh, Lord. Anyway, so back to power. You know, there's a lot to think about. You know, people just think, you know, well, I'm just going to grab a battery and go activate. And that's cool. Yeah, you can do that. But, you know, you got to think with, what am I going to do? Am I going to hike? Am I going to be out there all day? So I'm going to start with Dan. And Dan's going to tell me what he uses for power first.
I have two 30-amp Bianos, and I did have them in a Napa box that I have, but I recently transitioned to a smaller plastic ammo box, which is a little bit more, less footprint. So two 30-amp Bianos in parallel to give me 60 amp hours total. And we've actually killed it. So approximate running time on that, I did an activation before Hamcation. We went down to Hamcation. We did a 10 Park Rove. Me and James activated one time. Back from Hamcation, we hit 2 parks. And then the weekend after that, Saturday, we went down to Oleno State Park and activated with James and Robbie. And it died about halfway through that activation.
And you were also charging your laptop.
Yeah, and I was charging my laptop, phones, and everything else with it. So that's, I would say, very acceptable longevity on the battery. So,
cool.
If you go out in just one day, you're not going to kill it. So.
Oh, that sounds like a hold my beer moment. But But anyway, I'm going to let you finish here. You got some pictures or something, don't you?
Yeah, I sure did. If you want to share my other screen, this is the front of the new one that I'm building. Basically, your positive and negative terminals, the display, and the box itself. There's links in the description if you would like them. Simple on-off switch, and then the 4 power poles on the front for output power, and USB and a PD charger for my laptop. And let me just go back one. This is a while I was building internal shot. So there's 2 30-amp Bianos that go to the bus bars, and each bus bar goes to each output. The meter on the front measures the amp hours used, internal resistance, external resistance, voltage, and everything like that through the shunt that you see on the negative side there. So that's all that shunt is used for, is for the meter itself. So all the power draw itself is not going directly through the meter. So that kind of helps things out. And then the back of the box, I just put a single power pole there, and that's how I charge it. That single power pole is non-metered, goes directly to the battery terminals. So you can charge it, or if you need straight off the batteries, non-metered, kind of power. You can get it from there. That is it. That's the new box that I'm building. The Beast, as I'm going to call it. So.
Well, and that one sticker over there on the left, that definitely gives it extra power for sure.
That adds at least like 10 amp hours, I would say. Yeah, for sure.
And that's a version 1 sticker too.
Yeah.
Because the version 2's down. All righty. We'll go ahead and bring us. Hayden, you want to get rid of that and bring us back out here?
Yep.
All righty. From the man who's got the mega box. Let's talk to the other man on the other spectrum. And PP man, what do you use for power? Okay. So tell us about using your little PP battery there.
Actually, no. This is my go-to pack here. This is a Bioenno, it's been battle tested. That's why it's got a lot of bandages on it. This is a 3 amp hour Bioenno. What I do is pretty much away from the vehicle, as far away from the vehicle as I can get. This thing will probably operate my radios for at least 4 hours, constant 4 hours. And that's SSB, not doing CW or even worse would be FT8. And that's again at 5 to 10 watts. If conditions are poor, I might go to 10 watts, but I've got an easy 4 hours. And when I say easy 4 hours, I come home and there's still plenty of charge on this thing. And I think that's the smallest one Bioenno makes is 3 amp hour. Great little batteries.
Okay. So what about when you're camping? What do you do when you're camping?
Same thing. I use that little battery there. I mean, I have this box, which is like a quarter the size of Dan's, which has got a 12 amp hour. I could go a whole weekend with this thing easily. I don't have a meter on mine. I've got power switch on the top, USB-C, USB charging, power poles here. This end here is for the charging port. But this will go literally all weekend, 2 8-hour days without a problem. That's
awesome.
But again, with this, if I'm operating all day long, when I jump in the camper, I just plug it back in, and within an hour, it's back to charge. And that's how I know it's not empty. I mean, if it takes 3 hours to charge, it was pretty dead. But if it takes only an hour and I got a green light on the charger, it wasn't maybe halfway, maybe.
Okay. All right. So Hayden goes a total different approach than both of you guys.
Do.
And
I do.
Hayden, what do you use for power?
I do the cheaper, heavier round. I have here 30 amp, 12 volt battery that came with a solar setup that I got from Harbor Freight.
Okay.
And this will last me 2 days while I'm activating. If I have the solar hooked up to it, 100-watt solar, it'll last as long as the sun's up, probably indefinitely, because I could operate at night for 2 days. There's no sun. QRP, I haven't done anything QRP, but I've got these nice little 12 volt, 8 amp hour batteries. They're a lot less weight than the big boy down there. And eventually I'm going to have that hooked into a backpack and have it all wired up in the pack with the 817.
Okay. So when you say you could activate 2 days on the 30 amp hour, what are you calling 2 days worth of activating? I'm curious.
2 activations, 2 separate days, 4 or 5 hours. Okay.
Good deal. All right. So I'm kind of a mix here, I guess, between Dan and PP Man. I'm the best of both worlds, of course. So if I am hiking, I would use the BioWinnow 4.5 amp hour. And I use that with my Yaesu 818. And I've never ran it dead because I don't do a whole lot of QRP. So I'm not as experienced in running that battery out as I would be with the bigger ones. But it does really well. I can fit everything if I want to in a tiny bag and go out and do activations, and it works really well. But then for my everyday use, Hayden, you want to bring up my share?
It's gone.
It's gone. All right.
Oh.
Well, let me bring up my share myself then. Give me 1 second here. I wonder why it disappeared.
It happened when we started the intro.
Okay.
While you're figuring that out, I will say weight is a factor if you're hiking too, because each one of
Absolutely.
mine's, each one of those 30 amp BioWinnows I have weigh about 8.5 pounds apiece. My whole box is probably 17, 18 pounds, I would say.
I was having a conversation with Robbie the other day about weight, and because I used to do a lot of backpacking and long distance backpacking with my kids, and I made a comment to him. I says, you can always tell a experienced lightweight backpacker when you look at his toothbrush and it's been cut in half.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's probably why I QRP, because I've always been a minimalist when it comes to going outdoors.
All right. So this would be my box. This is a PowerWorks box. It was already pre-built for me because we all know I'm not the handy dandy that Dan and PP Man are. But this thing works really great. I use a BioWinnow 20 amp hour in this thing. And let's get you another slide here. That's a look at it at the top. Yes, it's dirty because guess what? It's used every single day. And underneath each one of those tabs here, you basically got your power poles, you got a cigarette lighter, and you got USB. Also, right here in the very center of these two USBs, you can't tell it by that picture. When it's closed down like this, you probably can. Right there in the very center, you got your tells you how many hours you got left and stuff like that. So that's what I use for every day. Now, you can go ahead and get rid of that share there, Hayden. I've said it many a times that battery will last me for 7 or 8 hours. But when I say 7 or 8 hours, that would be me doing sort of shorter rows, like 20, 25, 30 contacts maybe and out. If I'm going to sit down and bang out pileups and work my pileups, it's not going to last 7 or 8 hours. I don't exactly know what I can get out of it, but I can really, really push that battery. I would say I might get 4.5 or 5. But again, my pileups are pretty intense, and my cycle is more of a probably. A lot of people say, "Well, are you running?" Most people that runs a 50% cycle. You're 50% on the mic, 50% off. I'm more of a 85 on, 15 off, because I really run through the pileups and stuff like that. So I really put a lot out of my batteries, and the 20 amp hour has lasted me. I've got over 1,200 activations on that thing. I charge it every single night. I've never had an issue with it, and it does really good.
That's one thing about the lithium iron phosphate batteries. You can abuse the crap out of those things, and they just take it. They just take it. You can really, really abuse them as far as charging. Take them just down a little bit, hit them again, take them down really deep. You're not supposed to take them more than, what is it? Around 90% is really low. I think a comfortable range is down 80%. To answer the question, I think the company's BioWinnow says 1,000 cycles. then 1,000 cycles, then you're going to start getting degradation in the battery, which might take it down to 80% efficient as from new. So it's still a good battery. It's just starting to degrade at that point. So, like I said, I've had mine for 3 years, and I know I charge it every single day. Well, at least when I was activating every single day it was getting charged, just like you, James.
All right, so Kyle just asked how many charges I have on my battery, and I don't have an exact number. I probably should have thought about that when I first got it and kept track of it. But when I first started POTA, I had no idea what I was getting into and what kind of addiction it was going to become. You should get about 4,000 charges out of it. Okay, and that's full charges, correct, Aiden? Like partial charges would just add up to a full charge, from what I understand with the BioLinos. Yeah. But I can tell you that in the past, in 2022 and 2023, Kyle, I've got over 400 charges in it already. So that don't even count what I did in 2021. And
have you ever
a new battery?
Yeah. I was thinking about putting a cigarette lighter socket on mine just to be all encompassing if anybody ever needed it. But have you actually ever used yours?
Actually, yes, I have.
For what?
So the actual only time I've ever killed my battery. So I had been activating. I was up in Dayton last year, and I had been activating for a while, and I was going to charge my battery the night before, and it was pouring the rain, and I was like, you know what, it's good. So the next day after the Ham Fest, I did an activation, and I was just going to charge it at night because I was getting ready to head out and go to the bar. Well, as soon as I get done with my activation, I start hearing car doors, and like every YouTuber that was at the show, it pretty much just shows up at my campground. So we're here to do POTA. So I was like, it's set up right there. You go. So they all sit down at my radio, and they all start activating on my radio. You know, they're taking turns and stuff. And Richard, the trucking ham, he said, "Do you mind if I charge my 705 too?" So he plugs in his cigarette lighter plug for his 705 into the battery and starts charging with the cigarette lighter plug.
Okay.
So he, but long story short, by the end of most of the YouTubers and Richard charging his battery, I did end up killing my battery, and we had to switch it over.
I'm just worried about the real estate on the. I mean, I might be able to squeeze one on the front or maybe the side, but I don't want to put anything on the lid, the top lid of the box, because I want to be able to stack boxes. Because I got multiple plastic ammo cans like that, and I want to be able to stack them on top of each other.
So John, I don't remember exactly where I got mine from, but there is a link in the description to this video where you can buy a BioLino battery. So if you'll look in the description, you can click on that link and it'll take you there.
I can put the link that Dan shared for his
battery. No, it's the one in the description, Hayden.
Okay. I'll pull that up and put it in the chat.
It's the very last one in the description under Dan's links.
Yeah, yeah. Chris has a good point. I could use the cigarette plug for an inverter too if I wanted to.
Right. So now that we're done with that part, we're going to talk about how we're charging our batteries when we're not going home and stuff like that. So you know, Dan, you know, he's got plenty of battery there, 60 amp hours, and it's going to be hard to kill. Me, you know, if I've went out and done 7 or 8 parks that day and I'm on that 20 amp hour, I need to charge mine. And PP Man seems he says he's got a pretty good solar setup, so we're going to start with him. PP Man, tell us a little bit about your solar setup.
Well, solar setup is kind of simple. It's 2 parts. Again, I'm in a backpack. So whatever a solar panel I take out is going to have to be foldable. So I ended up going with the light. There we go. Power film. And this is a 30 watt. It's basically a canvas sheet. with a solar panel on one face, and super flexible. You can throw it on the ground. If you're in a car, you can throw it over the hood of your car. Throw it on a picnic table. But this will top off my battery as I'm using it. 30 watts will plenty, it'll throw plenty of juice back in the battery. But when I leave the park, if it's sunny out, my battery is as good as it was when I got there. And then the other part that I have is the little buddy pole power solar panel charger, which has got some. Don't know why that TV just turned on.
You've got mail.
I've got mail. It's got ports in here for charging. You got your solar panel, which plugs in here, USB for charging, your battery for charging, and then you can throw loads on it. And that brings up another thing. Bioennos have no problem being discharged as they're being charged. No problem whatsoever. So you can have the solar panel hooked up and using the battery at the same time. You could be charging it in any form, and it doesn't have a problem being discharged.
So you go from so you go from your solar panel into the buddy pole, and then into the yellow pole, and then out of that into the yellow port on the back of your box, right?
The yellow port is for the solar panel to plug into.
No, on the back of your battery box.
I'll just plug this directly into the buddy pole.
I got you.
And then plug in my loads at the other end, which you have 2 ports for loads.
Okay.
And continue operating as the sun is just charging the battery up. So I just figured out what I'm doing. Move the remote.
So really quick, Ed, welcome to being a channel member. I appreciate you very much. And Robbie wants to know what controller, PP man.
This is the old buddy pole, the very first one they came out with.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a newer one. It's got some nicer features to it. I think it might have an extra port. But the nice thing about this one, this is dedicated to ham radio. There are other controllers out there, and they're easy to identify. They usually have tabs for screw mounts. Those are really meant for RVs or campers or putting them in a truck or whatever. This one's 100% dedicated to ham radio, and it's a nice aluminum case, rubber ends. It's pretty industrial.
Yeah. Okay, so we got a question from the chat. Larry wants to know how much power each of us uses during our activations. All right, we'll start with Hayden first.
83 watts. I don't know how much power out of the battery I use. I don't have a battery monitor.
I wonder where you got 83 watts from.
Yeah.
Anyway, PP man, how much do you use?
Oh, 5 watts. 5 watts. On an active, definitely.
Dan?
I was trying to interpret that question. Do you mean like wattage as far as your radio or battery usage power? But I'll answer both. Obviously, the battery use is going to depend on how long you're out there during your activation. But I normally average between maybe 7 and 12 amp hours per activation if I'm out there for a good stretch. As far as wattage on the radio, I run at 90 watts.
Okay, to answer it like Dan did, I'd say I probably on a good day, a long day, I might use 2 amp hours out of that little Bioenno.
Yeah. So I run 90 watts, sideband CW. I'll probably run around 40 or 50. Digital, I run like 20 or 30. Even though I got a 100-watt radio, I don't ever put my radios full blast. So.
Okay. And myself, I have no clue how much battery I use because I don't kill my battery. I've been out, and I'll get to that in a second too. But I've been out, on all-night roves, and I've never seemed to kill my battery. I'll put this in perspective for you. 42 parks in a 20-hour period, and I did not kill the battery. And I'll explain that in a minute. As far as power, 83 watts, that is the magic number for power. It's the king's number. 23 for CW, and 33 for digital. If I'm running QRP, I wish I could run 3, but my radio won't let me do it. Now, with when I said I didn't kill my battery in 42 parks, you gotta put that in perspective. Yes, I did 42 activations. Well, it was technically 40 activations because 2 of them were twofers. 40 activations, but those activations, none of them were over 2 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I wasn't on there very long at all. And as far as any of my roves, when I'm going on a big rove, and this is how I keep my battery charged, I have the Paradigm car charger. I actually did a review on it, and I don't have the link right now. I should have had that ready, but you can search my channel for the battery charger, and I use that thing in between parks to keep my battery topped. It depends on how far I'm going in between them. It's not going to top it off 100%, but it keeps that thing charged very well for me when I'm out doing my roves. So I really enjoy that thing. Go ahead.
Were you charging on your big rove?
Yes.
You were probably putting in more juice than you were using.
Yes, I was.
2 minutes. There was more than 2 minutes between each park.
Yeah.
Don't know the rate of the charger you were using, but I'm sure you were putting in more juice than you were using.
Well, there were several times I had to turn it back off. You know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't do it after every single activation on that rove. Like now, if I'm doing a 10 park rove and I'm doing 30 minutes in between the roves and stuff like that, I will charge it between all of them. But
I mean, to put it in perspective, your whole 40 park rove that you did, your radio was on less than an hour and a half.
Yeah, I didn't even use that charger at all until like, I don't know, activation 20. I started putting it on.
Yeah, just to be absolutely sure you weren't going to run out.
Yeah, I mean, I
don't blame you. Yeah, I would have done.
I couldn't run out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Eric over in Hawaii said he runs 100 amp hours of battery.
100 amp hours of battery. Okay.
That's a big crazy car battery.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but he's also running 100 watts for FT8.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a lot. That's a lot to ask out of a radio and a battery. So I can understand that now. I'm curious. I'm curious how long it would take him to kill 100 amp hours just doing sideband, or if he's ever. Eric, have you ever killed a period?
If I had to guess, let's see, 100 amp hours at 100 watt FT8, I'd say you probably get 6-8 hours out of that 100 amp hour, maybe. Just by my quick never math on live stream in my head kind of thing.
Never math on live stream.
Because everybody's going to jump in the chat here and say how I'm a damn fool and can't add.
Okay, so Eric, what was your longest FT8 activation?
It says he got the 100 amp hour because it's the only one that would ship there.
Oh, okay.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, they'll ship the big ones, but they won't ship the little ones. Go figure.
Yeah.
8 hours, 8 hour activation. Okay.
8+ hours.
All right.
Yeah, I agree with you. No math on stream.
Was that a lithium iron phosphate battery, Eric, or gel, or what? Because that matters.
So just
a gel you can take a little higher than a lead acid. Lead acid you can only take down to 50%. So if it's a 100 amp hour battery, safely taking it down 50 amp hours, all you're going to get usable out of it.
It says it's a LiPo 4.
Yeah, lithium iron phosphate. You can take those down safely 80%. You can actually take them down 90%. No one recommends that, but you can take them down pretty damn low. So you can get 90 amp hours out of them.
Oh, and when I said I run 83 watts too, after about every hour of activation, fashion, that is a straight pile up, I'll start cutting it back like 10 at a time. I'll drop the 73, then 63, and I just keep dropping back, seeing if I can get the pile up to go away. And they don't. And they just don't.
It goes back to my saying: if you don't want a pilot, run QRP.
Okay, funny. You should say that. Not QRP, but again, I told y'all I run 23 watts CW. Sometimes I will forget to turn off the 23 watts and go back to my 83, and I'll get about 60 or 70 in, and I'm like, why are they saying I'm 5'7"? Why are they saying I'm 5'7"? And I'm like, oh, that's why. So.
Smoking Ape says 100 amp hour lead battery will blow out your O-ring. Don't cross the streams. Bad stuff will happen. It'll go kapow.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny stuff. All right. So, do you use any solar or anything, Dan?
No, I don't. That's why I was asking him. So I could actually get a solar foldable mat and some kind of solar controller charger, and I could plug it into the input output port on the back of my box, and I could charge it with solar.
Yeah, and they make bigger ones than this. You can daisy chain them together.
Yeah,
but they make really big ones.
That's another interesting topic, though. Obviously, the buddy pole one you have is RF quiet, or you wouldn't be using it because you're QRP.
Yeah.
There's a lot of brands out there that I've heard horror stories. Their solar chargers are noisy RF wise.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would be something to do research on before you buy one.
Yeah. And onto solar panels, the cheaper the solar panel, the more they're affected by things like shade, or they're affected by dirtiness if the panel's dirty.
Right.
If some of these more inexpensive panels, you start shading them, the whole panel shuts down, and only if it's only partially shaded.
That's a really good point.
And then and then in travel, if they get damaged, most of that panel might be gone. One selling point with the power film, this was actually designed, they say it was designed for the military. You can actually put gunshots through it.
Nice.
And it heals itself, meaning it not really physically heals itself, but it figures out a way around it. So yes, you lost that area, but the panel itself still functions almost as a full panel.
Okay. Eric had a good point.
I was going to touch on that, but before I do that, thank you very much for the super sticker, Terry. You rock, man. Terry's trying to break into that top 3. I think is what Terry's after. Them top 5 guys, they fight it out all the time. I love that crap. But so what's the thoughts on that? Eric says that solar panels is good for e-com, but for POTA, it's kind of cheaper just to buy a second battery and go on.
Oh, God, yes.
I agree with that statement, and I'll tell you why.
Yes.
Before I activated, I figure I need the battery that I have and a 100-watt solar kit that I got from Harbor Freight. The first 3 activations that I went out to, I had it all set up. And then after that 3rd time, it worked great. I never had to charge the battery. But after the 3rd time, I'm like, this is such a pain in the butt to go out there and set all this solar stuff up for a battery that's not going to discharge all the way. And I can just charge up home at night when I get home.
Yeah, I agree. I think I would only do. Good.
But my point was, with e-com, you're in one spot for an extended period of time. And it's worth setting up the solar because you may not have commercial power, or you might not have a generator or anything like that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think I would only do solar if I was going to be there for a long period of time, like a field day or something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's the people that go out and, I know all you guys have got them in your log. They'll set it at a state park for like 2 weeks straight, and there I see the point in setting up solar. Because they're there. Why not? But if I'm just out, moving around and stuff like that, I'm definitely going to go with the 2 battery method myself because it's quicker. I'm all about getting something done efficiently and fast. That's why I used Eagle One. You throw it up. You're literally, because everybody knows I don't have my Eagle One here in Florida, and by the time I set up an in-fed half wave or a buddy pole with the elevated radio or Wolf River coils with all the radials, I literally could have had the activation done with my Eagle One and been moving to the next park. So I mean, it's sometimes I like to go out. Myself and Dan and Robbie, and then myself and Dan and Eddie. We went out to Olena and we literally sat there all day long and activated, and we ate and just carried on, and that's a lot of fun. But for the majority of the time, because if I'm not hitting 7 and 8 parks a day, my email's blowing up. I'm like, are you dying? Are you okay? I want to be fast and efficient. So the 2 battery method would definitely be better off for me.
Well, at least you got to use a real
agree
antenna.
with that for probably 90% of the operators. The solar panel is an e-com or an emergency backup, or when I first got it, we were we do a lot, still doing some tent camping where there was no power. I could throw that on the ground, charge cell phones. I can charge quite a bit of things, charge battery lights and whatnot that were used the night before. But yeah, if you're just doing POTA and you're going to plan on going home that night, 2 batteries is you could probably buy 5-6 of these for what a solar panel and controller is going to cost you. But it's part of the hobby. If you want to experiment, you want to make sure you know how to use one and how to set it up and how to expose it to the sun properly, by all means get one.
So it's funny. Eric just commented that it sounds like I need an ATOS. And here's the thing: I did use one of those last weekend, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I do want one now. I don't know if I'm willing to pay for one, but I do want one now.
That's the only reason I haven't gotten one yet.
And here's the thing: would it replace my Eagle One? No.
No, it won't.
Absolutely not. And I'll tell you why. Because my Eagle One is almost as fast, almost, and I will get out a lot better. And this is experience from using them both now.
No, I agree.
But why do I want one? For that spur of the moment when people like Steven drops. When I'm talking about roving and people like Stephen drop $100 super chat and says, how about 40? I figured it up. So out of those 42 activations, that was 40 Eagle One setups. Okay. That's about 1.5 minutes a setup. With the ATOS, it would have been about 30 seconds. So that's 40 extra minutes.
Oh, we're mathing again.
At 2 minutes a park. that's I know you got drive time, but at 2 minutes a park, that could have been at least 5-6 extra parks.
Yeah.
So you don't permanently mount the ATAS on your car and leave it while you're driving down the road?
Some people do, some people don't.
Okay.
It'll definitely it'll shorten your road time. And one thing you didn't mention that will help you out on is James is known to help people out. So if he sees in Discord chat that somebody needs just a couple more contacts, he's been known to pull over on the side of the road, get out, throw his Eagle One up, make the QSO as a hunter, just to help somebody out, and that'll help that out too, because you can actually not stop and just keep driving on the road.
Yeah, many a times I've had to pull over and help somebody out. So absolutely, I do kind of want one. We'll just see what time tells. And plus, if I had an ATOS, it's small enough that I can bring it on on the train trips and throw it on top of my mom's vehicle. And there was a park yesterday that I wanted to activate. The only place I could find to get in it was right against the maintenance ground, and it just the maintenance part of the conservation area, and it just I felt like if I set up an antenna there, they were going to come run me off. And setting up an antenna that takes me, 7 or 8 minutes to set up would just really, I would have probably been a lid when they come out there and threw me out. So I decided to move on from that park and leave it alone.
So what you're saying is the ATAS ups your not get caught factor.
Well, no,
I would have had faster.
I would have had no problem because they had a parking place right in the boundaries, showing you the map of the actual area right against there. So I could have pulled in there and got it done.
Carrie's comment hit the nail on the head. Yes.
Yep. Like it's supposed to do here Friday. Rain.
You don't have to get wet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's another thing. I can't tell you. At a minute and a half in the pouring rain, you get soaked.
You get fairly moist.
You get soaked. So that's another factor. Would it replace the Eagle One? No. Would it keep me drier and make me happier at times? Yes.
Or you don't have to get out in the cold and freeze your butt off putting up the Eagle One.
Do I need it? No. Will I probably have it? Probably. I'm also the guy that's got a DX10 and a 991 that I've refused to get rid of.
Well, they're bed partners. You can't get rid of them.
Yeah.
A little Tar Heel too. Okay.
I've heard good things about that one too.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So we are approaching the top of the hour. So we are going to start telling everybody what we got coming up, if anything, for some of you guys. Hayden, what you got coming up?
Well, I've got I'm gonna try and get off on Friday, go out for early morning Friday activation, and spend a weekend in West Virginia hunting.
Awesome. All right, PP man.
I think I might get out this weekend. I think I'm getting paroled.
You're gonna get some parole. That's a good thing.
I'm gonna get some parole. Yep.
Cool. So PP man will be in the park. You probably won't hear him, but that's a good thing.
Lots of people hear me, man. Lots of people.
Okay, Murder says he's just already set up when he gets to the park. Just kaplam, it's done.
Just push that tune button.
Just push the button and go. All right, Dan, what you got coming up?
I'm gonna POTA this weekend. I think get some peanut butter and go out and work some radio.
Hey, ain't nothing like some peanut butter and working radios, buddy.
That's right, buddy.
All right. So for myself, I will be in a POTA park tomorrow. Surprise, surprise. No, I'll be in a POTA park every day. This weekend is the only actual plan I have. I'm going down on Sunday, and there's like 6 or 7 POTA activators that all meet up at a park down around the Tampa area on Sunday, and I'm going to go down and hang out with them. And sounds like a lot of fun. It's hard telling what I'll get into. But
see if on that note, see if you can convince them to start on 40, because they always start on 20, and I never get the chance to get them.
Start on 40, okay. I will try my best to get them to do that. But other than that, I'll just be. My mom asks me every night. She's like, "So where are we going tomorrow?" And I'm like,
"That's awesome."
I'm like, I don't know yet. It won't hit me till like 2:30 in the morning when I'm sitting in the Patreon after chat or something, or chill pad, and I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I want to go across the state tomorrow morning. Let's do that." I did go to a really cool park yesterday, and I'm not even going to try to say it. Dan sent me a funny text about it anyway, but it was really cool because they had like this huge animal thing in there. And thank you very much, Stephen Walker.
Peanut butter POTA.
Peanut butter POTA.
PBP.
Stephen's trying to butter me up because his dad's been beating him to the contacts lately, getting in my log first. So Stephen's trying to butter me up to hear him first. I know what he's up to. But anyway, they had all kinds of animals and stuff like that. Hippos and panthers and you name it, it was in there. So I got a pretty cool video coming out about it. I really enjoyed that, and that's about it. Got a lot of cool videos coming out from Florida, thank goodness. So, all right, Patreons, we will be in after chat. Thank everybody for this chats tonight, and the new channel member Ed. I appreciate you guys. Ed, if you want to message Hayden and come over to the Patreon chat tonight, we'll bring you on in. You're welcome.
I'll set that up now.
Other than that, I appreciate everybody, and we'll catch you guys on the air tomorrow. 73, everybody.
73.
73.